Mula po sa Philippine Center for Investigative Journalism, magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. Welcome to this forum, Life Inside. This morning, PCIJ Writing Fellows will present their reports on Philippine jails and detention centers. This afternoon, we will hear from our experts about the necessary reforms in our prison systems. Tomorrow, we will also have a 3-day training workshop on reporting prisons. Our activities this week will conclude our prison reporting project, a project under a partnership with the American Bar Association Rule of Law Initiative, or ABA ROLI, and the USAID. Mr. Peter Mackenzie, the Philippine Country Director of ABA ROLI, is here with us today. Welcome, sir, and thank you for supporting our this important coverage. We also thank our writing fellows who conducted a journalistic audit of select correctional facilities. We thank officials of the Bureau of Jail Management and Penology who gave our writing fellows and photographers access to their facilities and for engaging us. We thank our partner, civil society organizations. Attorney Mike mentioned you earlier. Thank you for sharing with us your expertise, for teaching us throughout this project, and for continuing to engage with us. It is said that no one truly knows a nation until one has been inside its jails. Nelson Mandela said this. He said a nation should not be judged by how it treats its highest citizens, but its lowest ones. By these standards, the Philippines should be judged poorly because we have treated our lowest ones awfully. The Philippines was recorded to have the most overcrowded correctional facilities in the whole world, second to none in 2018. In the early years of the administration of former President Rodrigo Duterte. This was during the height of his brutal campaign on illegal drugs, when thousands were killed and thousands more were incarcerated. The congestion rate of the Philippine jails at the time was measured to be 605%, an average of 6 inmates sharing a space built for only one person. It was almost double the congestion rate of the second-ranked country, Haiti, which had 320%. When the COVID-19 pandemic hit in the early months of 2020, we were alarmed that the highly transmissible and deadly disease could explode in our jails. PCIJ, at the start of the pandemic, ran stories shining a spotlight on the abhorrent conditions in jails and detention centers across the Philippines, and how they were increasingly overcrowded and how they were poorly equipped to protect the detained from the pandemic. Overcrowded facilities do not have the capacity to segregate, as we know, much more isolate infected individuals. It didn't help that the police went on an arresting spree on quarantine and curfew violations. They were detained in police lockups or city jails, increasing detainee populations even more. Our worst fears at the height of the pandemic were averted as authorities in prisons and detention centers took measures to protect the inmates. And it was in this context that the PCIJ started its partnership with ABA ROLI in November 2020. Over the last 2 years, PCIJ conducted further journalistic audit of the rights and welfare conditions of persons deprived of liberty. PCIJ has published a series of stories on the state of Philippine prisons, and we invite you to visit our microsite, the one that we developed for this project, www.pcij.org/prison-reporting. Overcrowding is a humanitarian crisis that gives birth to many other problems: shortage of resources and facilities, lack of food and access to social services, and public health issues, especially in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. Our writing fellows reviewed interventions by state agencies and scrutinized the weaknesses in access to justice of PDLs. Based on the latest review of countries, the Philippines doesn't anymore hold the record of having the most overcrowded correctional facilities in the whole world. That notoriety has gone back to Haiti. But we're still second. The Philippine government has taken efforts to unclog the country's jails. Mass releases have been implemented, but new facilities were hardly built. From 605%, the congestion rate in the Philippines is down to 300%. It's still high, and there are facilities where the congestion rate is still so much higher. At the Taguig City Jail Female Dormitory, for example, there are 287 PDLs in a space built for 33. It's a congestion rate of almost 900%, or almost thrice the national average. The cells are also cramped, the jail officers, so if you've read the report we've published, you know this. In an act of mercy, jail officers have allowed detainees to sleep outside the cells, in the lobby, except they have to wake up early in the morning to return to their cells. Our writing fellow, Mr. Kenneth Guda, was able to visit the jail last month as the pandemic restrictions were eased. PCIJ's most recent writing fellow under this project, Father Rich Salgado, documented the work of People's Recovery Empowerment Development Assistance Foundation, or PREDA, which runs a facility for children in conflict of the law in Zambales. Children in PREDA's facility are lucky. As Father Richie reported, the reality on the ground is that some children are still being placed in detention centers and jails. In some cases, based on reports, there are facilities said to be worse than prison. Our reports underscore the problems in our correctional facilities, but also highlighted solutions. At the Davao City Jail Annex, where there are 900 PDLs housed in a facility built for 300, there's not much that can be done about overcrowding. But as our fellow, Ms. Amalia Cabusao, reported, authorities there have improved living conditions of and offered opportunities for PDLs. Her reports featured the work of the College Education Behind Bars, which offers college degrees to PDLs willing to put in the work to finish course requirements. We'll hear more about this. We will hear more from Kenneth, Father Richie, and Amalia this morning. Our scrutiny. It says I should wrap up soon. Our scrutiny of the country's correctional facilities is most timely, as Mike has mentioned, that over 100 PDLs inside the Iloilo District Jail in Pototan, Iloilo back in August climbed to the roof of the facility to call public attention to their situation showed how dire the conditions continue to become. The PDLs in Iloilo begged for attention as starvation hit the jail. The killing of our colleague in the media, radio broadcaster Percival Percy Lapid Mabasa, was alleged to have been facilitated by inmates at the Bureau of Corrections. If proven true, and the Department of Justice has high confidence in their investigation, it shows how rotten some of our prisons have become. Justice Secretary Jesus Crispin Boying Remulla made pronouncements on the urgency of reforms in the prison system. Among others, he highlighted the need to cut down the size of prisons. He said to a maximum of 2,000 to 2,500. We hope this pronouncement will translate into a commitment on the part of the government to institute necessary changes. Our project with ABA Rowley will soon end, but PCIJ's commitment to continue documenting the conditions of the country's correctional facilities will continue. And our training workshop tomorrow is part of an effort to expand media coverage of necessary reforms. So I will stop here. So I hope the power interruptions will also stop. We look forward to your thoughts and ideas about possible ways forward, and we hope to continue our engagements with you one way or another. Good morning.